All right, welcome back to DBTalks Football Podcast. Today we're going to be diving into Barcelona's Copa del Rey quarterfinal away fixture at Albacete. And obviously, going into this match, it looked easy on paper, but of course, we can't underestimate Albacete, who beat Madrid in the last round of the Copa del Rey. So, of course, going into this, Barca were the favorites. But again, I think we did do well this game, but at the end, there was a bit of chaos, which we'll talk about later. But I think going into this game, obviously Barca are the defending Copa del Rey champions. Of course, we won last year against Madrid with that Koundé winner. And I think, of course, as well, Albacete, as I just mentioned, like they just beat Real Madrid, so you can never underestimate them. And I also watched that game. So Albacete during that game were actually not that bad. They were creating a lot of chances against Madrid. And there was that one striker, I think his name Jefte. I think he scored a brace on Madrid. So again, you can never underestimate them. And yeah, I think going into this, of course, it's an away game. All the fans were behind their own team, and a lot of the like tension and atmosphere was actually pretty crazy to see. And honestly, it was great to see that because I think we haven't really seen a team like Albacete, back their players as much. And I feel like there's a lot of chants going on, a lot of just overall atmosphere, which is really good to see. But yeah, let's get back to this half. I mean, you want to talk about the lineups for Josh?
Yeah, so just going to the game, kind of like you mentioned, there's a lot of, I guess, a bit of pressure for Barcelona as well, because defending Copa del Rey champions, and also just against Albacete, who just came off a win against Madrid. I feel like they're coming out of a lot of momentum because they have so much confidence after being being a side like Madrid, who even if Madrid they didn't have the best squad going to the game, they still have some very high quality players. So I feel like it's a huge accomplishment for them to beat a team like Madrid in that fashion that they did. So I think going to this, right, they also were very I think they had some sort of expectation where they thought they could have probably gone result after what happened with Madrid, because you can never predict what happens. I feel like a lot of times things just happen. So I feel like I wouldn't say Barca were too heavily favored. I feel like you can't like you said, you can't underestimate an opponent no matter who they are, because you never know what kind of performance their players give that day. So I mean, talk about the lineup. So I feel like we got news that Rafinha. You mentioned last video how Rafinha's injury didn't seem to be anything, because it's kind of reported that there's supposed to nothing much happened with that, but apparently it was a bit serious because he's out for a week, so he wasn't able to play today. And yeah, let's talk about the lineup. So it was a bit different. So keeper Jong Garcia, that's normal, but then the fullbacks were different because Koundé and Balde both got benched. So it was Gerard Martin playing left back and Joao Cancelo starting as a right back, and then the center back, so Kubarsi actually got benched, and it was a Araujo and Eric double center back duo. And then look at the midfield, it was a Jong and Bernal midfield, which honestly I think it was pretty cool to see that. I feel like that's the midfield that has potential to do well, especially with the absence of Pedri and even midfield like Gavi. I feel like I think Bernal's a player who I think can give some promise. I think he's kind of shown that in his cameos. So it was good seeing him start off, and especially with Jong, who I think has been super good at especially recently, but I think the entire season he's been very good. So it was nice to have him play. And then the front four, so I mean the wings, so yeah, like I mentioned, Rafinha was out, so he didn't play. It was actually Rashford who started, and then right wing Lamine Yamal played, just pretty standard. And the 10, so Firmino didn't start. It was actually Olmo who started, and then up top Fran didn't start. It was actually Lewandowski who started. So you can notice on the big changes. I feel like with this lineup, I think Flick got it right. I feel like the only thing I really complain about is just high management with Lamine Yamal. I feel like if you play, I think he's been having a very good season so far, and especially recently, I think he's been the best pro in the world. But I think with Lamine Yamal, how we still have to realize that he's a super young player, so he's still developing, and getting all these minutes in these different competitions, and especially sides that play a bit aggressive, and you see Lamine get fouled a lot. I feel like kind of want to preserve his fitness, so I feel like playing a full 90, especially in certain games, I feel like it may be unnecessary. But came out and reported that Lamine's fine with it, and he's playing his best football, and if he's fine with it, then they're just gonna do it. So yeah, I feel like hoping nothing happens with Lamine, because I feel like he's he's like a very rare player for us to watch. I feel like he's a special player. So and just very nice watching him. So I feel like if anything, I feel like maybe some games like I think it was nice seeing other players play. Like I think Rooney, I feel like he kind of deserves more playing time because I think we all know he's talented as well. So I feel like this Rooney could have definitely slotted in, and I think he would have done well, and Barca would still got the win. But yeah, that was like the line.
Yeah, let's get in that first half. I mean, obviously, I think at the start of the game, Barca were dominating possession as we always do, and I felt like we were trying to control the ball and find rhythm in our game. But again, Albacete immediately like they came out aggressive, and they were looking to exploit Barca's vulnerability on the counter. And we know that like any opposition we play, the only thing they need to do is time their runs and kind of play that perfect through ball. And even the goal we conceded, we're going to talk about later, is kind of similar to what we always see. And I mean, no, sorry, one of the offside ruled out goals that they scored was kind of similar to what we always see. But again, yeah, I just feel like Albacete were aggressive. They kept like trying to press us as much as they could, try to force a mistake. And I think Antonio Puertas, one of the strikers for Albacete, he had a couple like shots on Jong Garcia. But again, I think Jong Garcia made a couple good saves. And again, we know that if Albacete score first, there's going to be a lot more pressure on Barcelona, and there's going to be, the fans are going to be backing their own team. And the thing with like these type of teams, once they score a goal, they're gonna really drop back and kind of defend with their lives. So again, that's not the best case, and it was important to get that first goal to prevent that. And I think you go. I think fair play to Albacete. I think the way they started the game was really good. I think again they came out without fear. They weren't like letting us just play our game, and I think it was a really good approach from them. To be fair, but again, I want to talk about the Rashford chances in that first half. I think there was two chances. The first one was the Lamine pass where he crossed into Rashford. And initially I thought Rashford would like either shoot it first time, but he ends up like passing it, and the pass was kind of off. I think again, he could have been more like clinical with that chance. I think shooting that would have been slightly better, or maybe having a better pass. But again, Rashford, it's an early chance of the game. You don't really like, at least he's making the run and stuff like that. But the second chance he got, the one that almost fed him through, again, that's really disappointing. That's what we've seen this whole season. I don't know how Rashford. I think it's easier for him to score bangers and like the easier chances. Again, whenever he's one on one on goal, one on one like through goal, I feel like he's never really confident in himself. I feel like again he had so much time with that shot and he just skews it wide. I don't know how, but again that's something Rashford really has to improve in his game. And his shooting, his technique is one of the best in the world. But again, if he can't keep his composure and if he can't convert those easy chances, then it's kind of a waste on his part. But again, I feel like we could have easily took the early lead in those first couple minutes, or the first 25 to 30 minutes. But again, we kind of fluffed those two opportunities. And finally, in that first half, we got that first goal. And I feel again this was a really good play overall from Barca. Again, Frankie De Jong, he played a perfect pass to Yamal, and again we saw that Yamal take a first time shot. I mean that's a really good impressive finish from Yamal. I mean we again like that's really not easy to do, and just to do that first time and get it in the net is really impressive. And again we've seen, I think Yamal's really picking up form this part of the season. I think early in the season he promised us that I'm going to start off slow this season, but again, when it comes to the later parts of the season, I'm really going to pick up form, and he is really showing that to us. So again, great goal. I think Frankie De Jong was also like this past few game weeks and fixtures, I think he's really turning up, and obviously in the absence of Pedri, we really need him to do that. So again, great assist from De Jong, and again, amazing finish from Yamal. And again, after that point, obviously 1-0 up, it's looking good because obviously conceding a first goal would not be good against a team like Albacete. And I feel like again that overall play to go into that first half 1-0 up is really important. And again, right before that first half, there was another like close attempt from Barca. I think again it was another cross from Yamal, and then Daniel Olmo kind of headed it wide. And again, we've seen in so many games this season where we just aren't clinical enough, and I think that's an issue that Flick might have to look into, because I've seen it like countless times. Like we've missed so many chances. I don't know why. And again, in this game, we could have also like gone into that first half at least 3-1, 2 or 3-0 up. And again, it just felt like we were kind of wasteful with our chances. But yeah, overall, what were your thoughts on that first half, for Josh?
Yeah, so I think you kind of summarize like the first half and kind of like what I felt as well. It's just like a lot of chances being created, but um, not all ready to be converted. And some of the chances are a bit harder to take. But like you said with like the Rashford chances, I feel like the first one we try to pass it back. I mean, I think I kind of see what he's trying to do, but I think a shooting there would probably like a better chance to like it would have probably resulted in a goal if he shot it. But hey, even 1-on-1, I think like, throughout the season, I think Rashford at the start he was much better, but I think slowly for some reason he's been missing a lot of chances, and I think a lot of chances that he should be scoring because we know the player Rashford is, and he's very good usually on 1-on-1s and just finishing the ball in front of the net. But yeah, this game he didn't really do that, and I feel like it's a bit surprising, and I think it could be a bit concerning because in the big games, if that happens, it can actually cost maybe a game or a result. So I feel like it's the small things that matter, or not really small thing, but it's, everything matters in a way in the game. So I feel like the Barca need to be more clinical. I feel like even other players have had similar problems where they're not as clinical and they kind of mess up all the chances created. So someone like Ferran, I think, who we've seen like last game versus Albacete where he missed so many chances. Even for me, he's missed chances as well. So yeah, I even today Fran missed chances. We'll talk about it later. But yeah, I feel like overall as Barca, like I think Barca really need to improve the finishing because I think last season, like when Barca were the top scoring team in the world, I think what the difference was everyone was scoring the goals, everyone was actually taking the chances. Players like Lewandowski, Rafinha, Lamine, even like Alma at times, Fermin, Varane, people were scoring goals and they were very clinical. So I feel like the difference is that just like this season I feel like it's just that like that finishing is just not there yet, and I feel like it's something that Flick needs to constantly improve. And going to the more important parts of the season, especially where the harder games, the more important games show up, I think that's when Barca really need to prove themselves. And so I think Barca are very good at holding possession and creating chances. I feel like that's not really a problem, but it's just the scoring that I think has to definitely like improve on at least. And I mean, yeah, the first half, I think overall, I think it was an okay half. I feel like I think Albacete, I think they were definitely I think they did better than a lot of people probably expected. I feel like Barca played better in the first half, but I think at the same time, I think Barca just didn't do enough to really dominate the game. I feel like even going 1-0. Talking about the Lamine goal, I forgot who exactly it was. I believe it was Bernal who, when that goal started, Barca won possession by pressing. I think it was Bernal who pressed initially to win the ball back, and I think Rashford got it after and then passed to Jong, and then that whole chance got created.
I think it was De Jong that pressed as well.
It was, yeah, but I think Bernal won it. From what I remember,
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, but either way, whoever pressed, I think that just shows how effective the pressing system is with Flick, and how a lot of times when Barca press, it's like a lot of the times Barca win the ball back, and I feel like that is important, especially when when the other opposing team just passes the ball. I feel like if you can win the ball quickly and then counter, I feel like they don't have enough time to really reset their positioning. So I think it's really easy to exploit if Barca can make that play very quickly. And I feel like that's what happened with the Lamine goal, where Barca won the ball back, passed to Jong found the pass to Lamine, and Lamine was he had a lot of space, so he took a one-time shot and it was a perfect shot and went in, so he got the goal. I feel like those players are super effective, and I feel like that just proves more is how important the pressing is to the system, and how consistent pressing is just very good. I think the pressing today is solid actually. I think everyone tried to press as much as they could, but yeah, I think at the same time though, I feel like at the same time maybe Barca players don't want to take away their full energy on a game like this. I feel like just because of how many how compact the schedule is at times, I feel like they don't want to put their full pressing in like a game like this. I feel like they thought they could have taken it a bit easier, but regardless, I think it was a solid performance in the first half, and I think Barca did well. The only issues, like you said, the clinical the finishing is the problem, because the chances were there. Is just that they really score beside the Lamine goal.
Yeah, just as you said, the main issue in that first half was the efficiency. I feel like again we were creating so much, but the clinicalness was really missing. But at least we had the control, so I think that was a positive to take from that first half. I think with the Madrid game, like when they played Albacete, I think the main issue with them was they were not able to keep control, and they let the Albacete players, press them as much. And I think that was a better thing that we saw with Barca. I think we actually kept control and dominate possession and stuff like that. But again, going to that second half, Flick made a substitution right away, and it was Kubarsi for Cancelo. And again, I think this was a smart decision from Flick because Cancelo was already booked, and there was also another tackle in that game after he got booked where he like went through the player and he could have got a second yellow. So again, the thing with Cancelo is again he's like really good attacking wise, but defending wise, he's really like seen as a vulnerability. And I feel like again that's something he needs to work on because in big games, like if he's not able to defend individually, it might cause us trouble, similar to like what Kunde has been doing in the past few months. So I feel like again, Cancelo is really good going forward, but defensively he's kind of lackluster. But I think Kubarsi came on. I think he had a pretty decent game, and he kind of controlled our passing wise and defense. And again, yeah, I think Barca kept the same intensity going to that second half, and we were trying to press high and use our fullbacks to create more width. And I feel like the first goal the second goal that we scored was a really well worked goal and well deserved from the player that scored. And of course, it was the Araujo goal. I think again we've seen Rashford have his like corner deliveries. I think that's also a really good aspect of Rashford's game. I think set piece wise, he's one of our best like corner and free kick takers. And we saw that today. I think again a beautiful corner from him. And another player we're going to talk about a lot in the match performances, Araujo. He ends up scoring, and again I think this was a really good game from Araujo, and he had a really good header, and he's known as like I think the best aerial threat in our squad at the moment. So I think him and Lewandowski are like the best two aerial threats for us. And again, he showed us like how good he can be from corners. So a great goal from Araujo, and I think the main thing we saw that is that the support from all the players and Flick as well. I think when Araujo scored, he went to help Flick, and I just felt like that was a really heartfelt moment for the whole team and Araujo himself. And obviously Araujo has been struggling with his mental health, and he's also been struggling with form and stuff. So getting this goal and having a great performance like this, I think is really going to help him, and we are going to need him later in the season. So again, yeah, a really good goal. I think a really good moment for the overall team. I think this really pushed us forward to end this game pretty well. And obviously a 2-0 lead at Albacete I think is really beneficial. And I think going later into that game, again there was more chances for Barca. We kept seeing shots from Lewandowski, and also when Ferran Torres was subbed on, he also had a couple chances that he kind of missed. And then there was also that late Ferran goal that was ruled out. I thought that would be the killer moments for the game, but ended up being ruled out. And again, Gerard Martin, when he was shifted to left back, we saw that low driven trademark cross he always does. So again, that's something that he's really good at, and I feel like Gerard Martin is also good at fitting in wherever he needs to be played. And I think at left back today he had a really good performance. But again, with Ferran, I think he misses a lot of chances, but that goal that he scored again, unfortunately, was offside. But I think we really need to invest in a striker in the summer, because with Lewandowski and Ferran Torres, I feel like they're both inconsistent in their own manner. I think with Ferran, obviously he's the more starting striker at the moment because Lewandowski's aging and he's not fit to start every game. But with Ferran, again, we've seen him miss so many chances, and with Lewandowski as well. Today, I don't feel like he had any impact, to be honest. I think he was coasting this game, and I feel like these games are where Lewandowski could thrive. But again, he really didn't do too much today. But yeah, then we move on to the late drama, the more chaotic part of the game, and again, we saw Albacete get their goal, and I think it was a really good goal, to be fair. I mean, a great goal from them. Another free kick and another set piece that we concede. And this is right after Araujo was subbed off. So again, it just shows how weak we are without someone like Araujo in defense, and aerially we just get dominated. So again, a really good goal from Albacete. And again, it's 2-1, and it feels like at this point the fans are gonna really push their team forward and try to get that equalizer. And there's only a couple minutes left, and there was another chance for Albacete, and that clearance from Gerard Martin, I think that saved us. To be fair, because honestly, if that goal went in, it would be 2-2, and going into extra time, it would really favor Albacete and their overall fans and overall players. So again, really, really important, goal line clearance from Gerard Martin. And I felt like again, this could be a game where we, we create so many chances and it all just goes to waste because the final moments of the game we really throw it. But thankfully, again, yeah, Gerard Martin saves us, and I feel like this game he had like a really big superhero moments for us. And yeah, I think overall after that, at least that Gerard Martin clearance, there wasn't too much happening. I think we held out well, and I think again we kind of learned that to try to waste time, try to like take control back in the game. But again, I just feel like 2-1, it was a bit closer than it should have been. I feel like we could have scored a lot more, and that last few minutes was really dramatic. But yeah, what were your overall thoughts on that second half?
Yeah, so I think the second half definitely was a bit more interesting. I think after the Araujo goal, I thought at least that Barca would kind of play more safe and just like play the game out, but not play too risky to just secure the win. But that didn't really happen because at the end, Albacete got their goal and it was a good goal from the free kick, and they also got the offside goal. So I feel like they're definitely trying to get into the game and just like make a comeback. But I think throughout the entire game, I think Barca still played solid enough to get the win. I think with the Araujo goal, I think it was definitely a big moment for Araujo because, like you mentioned, right, he like recently he's been kind of been struggling a lot, and I think even with the fans, he hasn't had like the best connection with the fans. I think a lot of fans don't really like him or like, they want him out. So yeah, I feel like that's just something as well, right? And then getting the goal, it definitely restores his confidence, and I think it's nice seeing how the way Barca fans treat a player like Araujo, who is coming from all this like emotional stuff, and welcome him back with proper care and celebrating his goal with him. I mean, I saw on Instagram, Pedri and Rafinha both posted a story celebrating the Araujo goal, calling because he has the nickname like the Gorilla, so they're calling that and posting the Uruguayan flag. So there's definitely like I feel like that Barca have that special connection like a family where everyone supports each other. Saying that Araujo goal was just huge it was just huge, and definitely I thought I would secure the game honestly, and because Barca is trying to get the goal. I feel like with set pieces, I think Barca have been pretty solid with set pieces this entire season, and Rashford got the assist. I think Rashford has definitely been a huge positive in helping with set pieces because I think Barca a lot more threatening set pieces when Rashford taking a corner kick because he gets a lot of assists out of corner kicks because he's very good at taking them and he positions them right. And like you mentioned, the aerial threat, I think Araujo and Lewandowski are the main aerial threats for Barca. So having him come up, I think definitely just makes Barca more threatening off the corner kick. So we saw that connection and it was very nice. And I think we were talking about Fran because Fran missed like a few chances. Well, it's kind of like disappointing because he's had a lot of the chances created are very well chances from like Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal had so many good chances created, and I feel like sometimes at times Lamine should be more greedy because I feel like he has a better chance of scoring the goals than something like Fran because I think it's just better for Lamine to take shots, take risks, and just get the goals because I think he's a player that deserves to take the risk and like be a bit selfish because I think he makes the most impact. So I think someone like Lamine can definitely be a bit more greedy at times at certain plays. But yeah, kind of like you mentioned with the striker thing. I mean, we're not gonna sure Rashford was happy with the striker situation because I think if Barca can get a proper striker, I think Barca can score more goals because I feel like the chances created there's so many, and it's disappointing seeing the ones that get wasted because they could be like opportunities for like a very nice goal to be scored. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's tough to see, right? And yeah, I mean, besides that, I mean, to talk about like the last few like minutes, because I think that was where it was more tense. Where after Albacete got the goal, Barca really didn't want to choke a potential. They didn't want to choke another goal, and talk about them. The one Martin clearance, I think it was huge. I think Gerard Martin, I think he's a bit underappreciated at times. I feel like people kind of forget him at times, but I think this season I actually think he's been pretty solid for what he's contributed and produced because he's been playing left center back shifts, he's been playing some left back shifts, and I feel like most of the time he gives a very solid performance. So I feel like he's definitely like a player who deserves some appreciation, and that clearance definitely saved Barca because that was probably gonna go in, and I think if that happened, I think it would just look a bit more embarrassing for Barca to choke a 2-0 lead. So yeah. Besides that, I mean, I only have too much to say for second half. I feel like kind of like you said, how the scoreline didn't really reflect the game. I feel like There's a game where Barca should have scored more goals and should have gotten a more comfortable win, but that didn't happen. And yeah, I mean, it's the win's the win, and it's a knockout game, so I feel like it's gotta move forward. And I believe I don't know if it's semifinals or I forgot what exact. I think
It's just, I mean,
yeah. So that'll be huge, right? Because Barca definitely want to go back to back Copa del Rey and just defend the title and get into a trophy, because I think that's the thing, or that's like the goal, is just get the trophy. So yeah, I feel like Barca overall, like the entire game, I think it was a solid performance. I think there's certain players that I think put a good show on, and I think made the impact. I think some players could have done better, but yeah, we can't really complain too much. Yeah.
yeah, let's move on to the individual performances and man of the match. I feel like, honestly, my man of the match would go to Araujo. He's really close to Yamal, but I feel like Araujo kind of edged it today. I think, again, defensively he was super solid, and getting that goal, I think it was just overall a perfect, like, overall, like, game for him. And obviously coming off the past few months of, like, trouble, I feel like obviously, like, today this was a really good performance from him. And if we can have this version of Araujo, like, consistently going forward, I think that's going to be a real big, like, difference for our defense. At least we know how good he can be, like, recovery wise. He's really fast. Even today, that one chance where Albacete had, and he caught up to the player and kind of shielded the ball for Jong. I think that was a really good play from him as well. And I think overall, just Araujo was really good today. Really close to him was Yamal, as I mentioned. I think Yamal, again, just continuing his form. And with Yamal, that goal he scored, again, really good finish from him. And again, I just feel like he's getting much better in this later part of the season. And obviously, I think with Yamal, the main thing is that we have to manage his minutes. We've seen that sometimes part of the season he gets, like, susceptible to injuries. So again, I don't know why he played the full 90 minutes today as well. I think someone like a Rooney Bargi or someone else could have, like, filled in for the last couple, like, 20 or so minutes. But again, yeah, I just think Yamal, again, really good performance from him. And my third best player, honestly, it's a toss-up between Frankie de Jong and Gerard Martin. I think, again, de Jong, that assist and overall play in the absence of Pedri, I think, again, he's controlling our midfield. He's been our main outlet, like, going from defense to attack. And I feel like, again, de Jong's just showing how good he can be for our team. And also with Gerard Martin, I think, again, when he's been asked to play center back or left back, he's done a pretty good job in doing that. And even today, saving us with that goal line clearance, again, just showing how good he can be, when we need him. So again, I feel like Gerard Martin is also someone we kind of can be a good squad player. I think he can fill in at left back, he can fill in at center back, and I just feel like overall he's been a really, like, honestly, a pretty important player for Flick this season. But yeah, who are your top three mentions?
Okay, for me, like, the man of the match is between two people, but it's a bit different than yours. I mean, I have Lamine tied with, not tied, but for me, it's between Lamine Yamal and de Jong. I think de Jong had a very good game, and maybe it's a bit like undercover game, because I feel like I guess sometimes his impact maybe isn't as seen as how I see it, maybe from other people, but I think he was very good today. And I mean, he got the assist for the first goal, and I think overall he was very good at bringing the ball forward, just controlling the midfield. I feel like with keep on saying, with the absence of Pedri, because that's a huge like absence, because Pedri, I think, has been like the best and most consistent Barca player this season, at least. So I feel like just missing something like that is just huge, and having someone like de Jong who can fill in and do a similar role to, like, a similar level, and he's just super good. I feel like it's very nice to see him play, and I think he's super important. I think this game he was definitely one of the better players, and I think for me he was, like, pretty standout. I think he was super impressive, and he also made this one crazy like block from one of the shots that Albacete took. I forgot what player it was, but it was a shot and de Jong blocked it. So I think, like, de Jong has those moments where he can just be super, like, clutch. But if I were to give it to someone, I'd give it to Lamine Yamal, just because I think he's on a different level. I think like recently he's been, like I said before earlier in the video, I think recent form he's been the best player in the world, and I think he's playing at a level where I think he's trying to, like, improve all the time. I think he's adding more to his game, and I think we're seeing him get more used to playing more aggressive, more forward. Because I think early in the season, in certain games like the first Madrid game or even PSG, and even Chelsea, I think he played very passive, and I think that just hurt his effectiveness because I think he's very good at taking on players and roaming around and just creating stuff. And I think recently he's been doing that a lot more, and he's been doing it at a very high level. So I think he's been super impressive. So I think I give it to him because then throughout the entire game he was super good. I think the only complaint I'd have for him is that he lost the ball a few times, and the two times I remember him doing it specifically, he lost it in Barca's half near the box, and so Albacete got the ball and they're trying to get a goal out of it. But I just think overall like his playing is super good, so I give it to him. And then yeah, second I give it to Jong. I think like I said already, Jong's been super good, just controlling the game, and he's such an important midfielder. I think for me this season he's been like, for me at least, he's been a top 5 midfielder. I think he's just been that consistent and that good. Third, I'll give it to Araujo because, like you said, Araujo coming off all that, he started and he put in a good shift and he got a goal and he's good defensively. So I feel like with Araujo, like for me, I think with Barca's struggling defense, I can definitely see him start more games and even become an eventual starter because I think with Kubarsi, I think Kubarsi is a very good player. He's a lot of potential, but I think this season he has been too solid. I feel like he's had some good games, but he's had some bad games as well. And I feel like having a Araujo who can be a big threat in the defense, someone who can potentially Barca need to improve that defense. I think if he can get that form in, then I think he can be super crucial for Barca's push into the league and even the UCL. And other players I like to mention, like a standout player, I think Olmo actually had a good game. I think Olmo as of recently has been very good and more consistent than kind of seen him before. And yeah, I think Olmo's just a scary player, and it's kind of crazy that Barca have both Firmino and Olmo, who I think are just two very attacking minded, very great offensive players with both very great like technical like ability and like shot power. So I think just having those two is just super clutch because I think both of them can be pretty solid. So I think Olmo had a good game. I think he had like a few chances, like you mentioned, the one from Lamine where he headed it wide. He also had like a shot outside the box. So I think Olmo had a pretty solid game. I think also Eric Garcia, for me, I think had a solid game as well. I think Eric is that player that he's just like an all-rounder. He can play anywhere. And when I believe when Cancelo got subbed off at halftime, Eric came on. So or not Eric came on, Kubarsi came on, then Eric played right back for Cancelo. So like I said, he's an all-rounder where he can play at different positions. So I feel like he's such a good player to have, such a good squad player to have because he can fill in different roles and he's usually very good at all those roles. So I think today he was also pretty solid. And Gerard Martin, like I mentioned, I think had a good game today. And Juan Garcia, I think, had some good saves, I guess. So I think those were like my main standouts. I think Rashford had an okay game, but like again, like we talked about earlier with the finishing, I feel like if he can get that finishing down, he'd be so much better and he'd be super more effective for Barca because the Barca score so many goals. So yeah, and then I guess like the players coming off the bench. Personally, I feel like there wasn't too much crazy impact. I think like for me, like I don't think he did anything too crazy in my opinion at least. And same with Casado and Fran and Koundé, I think like they're just okay, like coming off the bench.
Again, with the Araujo situation, I just feel like at the moment our ideal defense would be something looking like Bali at left back and Kubarsi, Araujo at center back, and Eric at right back because obviously Koundé at the moment is really out of form. I feel like he needs to like take a break out of the lineup for a bit, and I think with Eric, he's always consistent at right back or wherever he wants it, like Flick needs him to play. So again, I just feel like I want to see that like setup of defense from Flick in future games. But looking at the bigger picture after this game, obviously Barca are heading to the semifinals. Now I'm not sure. Is it like I'm looking at football? Is the bracket already set? Like, are we playing either Sociedad or Alaves, or is it
I
someone
believe
else?
I believe they might do a draw. I'm not too sure
Okay,
honestly. I'm not too sure honestly. I haven't really followed up like with the past stuff. I think it'll be
yeah,
announced soon. It'll be announced soon.
okay, yeah. But anyways, Barca are anyways like heading to the semifinals, and at the moment our opponents are going to be either Sociedad, Alaves, Atletico Madrid, Betis, Athletic Bilbao, or Valencia. And honestly, all those teams they seem beatable, and it feels like this is a major competition for Barca that they could win, and back to back. And obviously, I feel like this is not a trophy you can take for granted, and winning a trophy, even though it's not like a huge trophy. It's still like a big mentality booster for the overall team. And again, I feel like if we get this trophy, it's going to be a good moment for the team overall. And I feel like just like takeaways from this game, I feel like again the lineups we have are pretty good. I think again a lot of our players are in form. I think Olmo and Yamal are like really picking up form, and also De Jong being consistent. But the main thing that we keep seeing is the wastefulness with our chances, and I feel like that's a big concern still. And I feel like again we saw with Rafinha, he's one of our main like finishing outlets, and I feel like without him, that kind of level kind of really drops. And it feels like with Lewandowski, with Ferran, with Olmo, and other players, it feels like they really miss a lot of chances. So that's a kind of big issue that we have to really fix because again, Flick's system like really depends on attacking and goal scoring. So if we aren't able to take our chances attacking wise, that could really cost us later in games. But yeah, what were your overall thoughts on this game?
Yeah, like you mentioned, the Copa del Rey. I mean, I guess a lot of people outside, like, I guess, like, non-Barca, non-Madrid, or, like, people don't, like, stay in tune with La Liga. I feel like they probably don't really care much about it, and they probably don't take it seriously. But I think, it's, like, Spanish-wise, it's a pretty big trophy. It's, like, it's a Spanish Cup, and I think, it's a good trophy to win. I mean, Barca are usually the best team at the Copa del Rey. They have the most Copa del Rey, so I feel like it's still, like, a pretty important competition, at least for, like, Spanish teams, and like I said, it's a very big confidence booster. I mean, winning a trophy, it feels very nice. It's a very good feeling. And I feel like at times, I mean, throughout the journey of a season, I think, at points of the season where you win something big, I feel like it's a good moment to, take it in and just, it's like a reward, I guess. And it lets, like, the players appreciate the squad they have. And, like, at the same time, it can also just show, like, what to improve, what they've been doing good, and, like, how to keep that up. So, I feel like it's still important, and I think you talk about the other teams that are in it. I think they're so like it's like they're beatable, but at the same time you can't underestimate a team because you never know what happens. So, and it's a knockout, so it's usually just like one game. So, actually, I believe is it 2 legs for the semifinal? I don't really remember.
I'm not too sure.
I remember versus Atleti, there was a 2 leg like Copa del Rey.
Oh yeah, yeah, there might be 2 legs then. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, either way though, it's still huge. So, yeah, I think that's just important. And like I said, I think Flick has to really just improve the team because I think Barca are still good, but I think Barca can be better because I'm like looking at like certain other teams in Europe. I feel like not everyone's really consistent. I feel like even like the teams like Bayern, Arsenal, they've had inconsistent games too. So I feel like if Barca can really just really work harder and just really improve like the weak spots that are very noticeable, like the defense and like the finishing, I feel like this team can go on another level. And I feel like Barca can dominate like any team and win any game. So I feel like ultimately it comes down to Flick and what he kind of instructs out of the players, what he kind of gets out of them, and also like the players' dedications. I mean, I think for this squad at least, I think from like every squad player I've seen, I think all of them would be willing to I think they already are, but I think they would also like put their max effort to improve. So I feel like that's just nice to have. Players have the mentality. I know Rafinha is one of the big players that has that mentality where he just loves to improve and he loves the club and all that. I think like even Lamine Yamal, I think recently he's been picking it up and it's huge because he's been saving Barca at certain games, and he's like the main chance creator. He's been scoring a lot now, getting GA, so it's very nice to see. So yeah, I think Lamine he's amazing, and I think the returns of Pedri and Gavi, I think those two will be super important because I feel like they offer a lot that Barca can definitely just take and use. And yeah, I think at this point of the season, I mean, it's February, so I mean, there's still a lot of time in the season left. I think there's like a few months, so the league is still important, UCL is still important, and I think the Copa del Rey is also important as well. Though I won't say it's I won't say obviously it's not bigger than the league or UCL, but I still think like winning as like every trophy that you're given, I think that's a good thing. That it's a thing that the best teams do. They just win every trophy. So yeah, I feel like that's something that Barca should set their eyes on, just winning all these trophies. And yeah, I think like I said, I think Flick, hopefully he can come up with a way to improve the finishing because I feel like players like Rashford, Ferran, Lewandowski at times, Olmo at times, Firmino at times, sometimes Lamine, sometimes Rafinha. I feel like every player has their moments where they just don't take the chance correctly, and it just is a bit frustrating at times to see because every goal matters. And I feel like we've seen recently, like with Elche and um versus Albacete, the goal difference is kind of too close. That you like it's too close because Barca have so many chances that Barca could score like 5+ goals, but today Barcelona scored 2 goals. So I feel like it's just weird, right? Because you expect all these goals to come out and it's not really happening, and it makes games like these more intense than they should be because the last few minutes I feel like it should have been a comfortable win, but that didn't really happen because everyone was stressing because there's only 1 goal difference and Albacete were very pushing on. So I just feel like Barca can release a lot of stress if the finishing just happens. So I'm not sure how it would be implemented in training. I guess training drills and stuff. And the defense is also a big part. And I believe the winter window's closed, so Barca can't really make any signings. So Barca made the Cancelo signing and a bunch of youngster signings, to which I think it's an okay window, but I feel like it's not what Barca really needed. I think the center back thing that Flick wanted was the main thing that Barca really should have went for, and maybe even probably not possible, but even an E Young signing or something. I think it wasn't too possible, but yeah, I think those issues now will be transferred for the summer. I saw a report that Deco is very close to getting a signing on, I believe, the Club Brugge left winger Isubu. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but if that's true, then that's huge. And I mean, I don't know what will happen with Rashford at that point, because if there's 3 left wingers at the point, so I'm not really sure what's gonna happen. But yeah, I just think at this point of the season, Barcelona needs to improve and keep pushing, get all the results possible, get all the wins, because every game, I think up to now, every game going forward is gonna matter a lot.
Yeah, and again, to wrap up, I guess Barcelona end up winning 2-1 against Albacete. We kind of show Real Madrid how to do it, and again, I think it was a pretty good performance from the team overall. Obviously, Yamal shining and Araujo having his captain-worthy performance, but again, there was a lot of drama at the end. So again, we just really need to improve on our clinicalness in our games, and I guess moving on to the next kind of fixtures, we obviously look forward to the semifinals. So again, it's going to be important to take control of games and get ahead earlier. But overall, in the comments, let us know, do you feel who do you want to face in the semis, and do you feel Barca could really win this competition and move on to bigger things such as La Liga and the UCL. But overall, yeah, make sure to subscribe and follow DB Talks on all our platforms, and be tuned in for our next video, which could be on the Premier League fixtures. But yeah, thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.